Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride. Welcome back to another episode of Inner Blueprint, the podcast. I'm your co-host, Sean Foyer, here today with the beautiful, amazing
Caitlin Foyer.
And today, you excited for today's guest?
You know I am. He's my favorite.
That's the funnest part of doing this podcast is we get to invite on amazing people. Today's guest happens to be not only a client of ours, but a good friend of ours. I met him and his brother, I think it was around 2014-ish. I was a business coach at the time, so we've been working together with them for almost a decade. They took over 60-year-old roofing company, family business, multi-generational. And in the 10 years I've known them, the first 5 years I was working with them on business process as a business coach. The past 5 years we've been working specifically on mindset. And we've literally seen this guest and his brother transform the company, all areas of it, from a name change, taking it from about a $3 million company to pacing probably $30 million in sales this year. It's been
at least
one of the most amazing rocket ship rides I've ever been witness to. Today's guest is not only an amazing entrepreneur and business owner, he's a loving brother, father, husband,
coach, amazing
wrestling coach, good friend of ours. Let's welcome to Inner Blueprint, Mr. Greg Olsen.
Hi, Greg.
Hey, guys. Thank you.
I always call Sean like the unofficial Olsen brother because I feel like your guys' relationship is more than just friends. Like you guys are brothers.
I definitely feel
he's
that
been
way.
there through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've definitely had to figure out ways to enjoy the ride, right?
Yes. We had to figure out ways. That's a good way to put it. But we have.
Yeah. Well, you guys have seen, because you met me when I had just started working for Certified Contractors Network as a business coach, and I was going through my shit a little bit at the time. You guys didn't know it at first when you met me, but yeah, it's been really cool to see you guys grow as men and as business owners, and myself, going through my journey. It's been cool. I didn't mention in the intro, when I met you guys, the company was Cromweedy Roofing, 63-year-old company, I believe, at the time when we met. And talk a little bit about that. What was it like when you came into the family business, and how did you get into it?
I came into it in March of 2008. I was trying other jobs first. My dad really he wanted us to, what's funny, he wanted us to branch out and do something else, but I feel like he was finding his way to drag us back in. But I was working, I think 2 jobs. I was doing GNC and I was working at a biology supply house because I got my degree in biology and I didn't like it there. My dad's office manager was dying of multiple cancers at the time. So he's like, hey, can you come in and just help me a little bit? Can you run payroll? And so I walked into the office with this super old compact computer, no internet at the place, lots of bills half paid. And he had a roughly 750 grand, maybe a little bit more, thousand in debt from my parents' divorce in 2000. So it was hard to get in there and see that and start to work on that stuff and try to learn how to run the office over the phone with a lady who was in the hospital.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, it was a rough start, but it was such a small business. It was maybe 8 people total. I think it was 3 people in the office, maybe 5 guys on the roof. So it was very small.
How much revenue were
So
you guys doing when you started?
I think it was 1.8 million.
Okay.
When I showed up in there, and he basically just had, he did a lot of small roofing jobs. I would consider him very chuck in the truck, like a lot of commercial roofing. So he had one big contract that he did a lot of work for, and me and Mark always said, man, if that guy was gone, around that time, my dad wouldn't have had a business. So it was interesting trying to climb out of that hole and fix a lot of, got the internet immediately because I couldn't live without that. And then started to slowly streamline the processes from then on.
Well, Well, yeah,
Because then Mark showed up in 2010. He was like 2 years later. He came out of school and was there to help me.
and your dad both wanted you both to do something else. But growing up, what was it like? You guys spent a lot of time on the roof as kids, didn't you? At a very young age.
We did probably since we were, I think, younger than 10. He would have us come to work. We would hang out with a guy named, he was an old Vietnam vet named Butch who would drive the dump truck around. And so we would hang out with him. And again, we got to have McDonald's for like, every meal or Burger King or something. So it was like the greatest thing ever. But we learned pretty quickly how badly I can get sunburnt and how quickly, and then getting completely beat up by the insulation on these commercial roofs or the hot tar from the
Oh,
built up roofs. So we had to do that all the way through high school, every summer. And this is a funny story too. I was 16, Mark is 14, and I'd have Mark drive the first portion of the drive at 4 in the morning, well before he's supposed to drive, get me to the highway, and then I would drive from the highway into work because I was still working at a grocery store, my first job when I was 14, until like 10, 11 at night. I'd be closing that up, and then I'd sleep in the truck sometimes too. And my
wow.
dad, again, he definitely gave us a work ethic, I would say. um, so yeah, it was a interesting time. It was so hard to just try to stay awake, just making it to work. But again, Mark was always there too to help get me there.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my favorite things. We talk a lot about mindset, and we'll talk about you came into the business in a lot of scarcity, right? Your dad had a lot of debt. The business was doing a lot of low margin commercial work and really was struggling for profitability. Obviously, he made a good living, but to try and now support you guys. But, the work ethic that you guys bring every single day. I've never met two individuals, and especially two brothers,
Yeah.
that together have the drive to just do it. I mean, you guys are there every single day, and it's been really fun to watch you from when you started there in such scarcity build what you've now built today. What was it like? Because when we met, it was 2014, so you'd been there about 6 years, right? And you guys had come off. You'd done a bunch of insurance work. So I remember you guys were really struggling with paying bills. Honestly, the cash flow wasn't quite there. The profitability definitely wasn't there. And you were introduced to really good processes, a sales process, a business planning. What did that look like over the first few years? Because I know you guys made a lot of progress once you had some good processes.
Yeah, so just before that time, I think I'd have to ask Mark exactly what it was, but like we would take the labor material and times it by like 1.25 or maybe 1.35. It was, and again, we thought it was normal. We didn't know what we didn't know. And we got into James Hardy a little bit, and that's when we met you, was at the
Hardy Summit,
Scottsdale,
yeah,
Arizona, yeah, James Hardy Summit. And that's when we started to go, oh, there's a whole way of running this, that we should have been doing the whole time. And then we went to the first business planning boot camp because I know the one in Arizona was kind of hard to do because I know it wasn't working well. Um,
yeah.
the systems, the computer, I remember the internet was down. Like there's a lot of problems. And I know you were trying your darndest to help
That
us at that point, but we went to the business planning thing, and that's when, and Bill Chase could attest to that, when we wanted to cut a,
whole
he jokes, he cut a hole in the rug and get under it after we found out, like Scott's looking at us like, you guys are, your prices are not where they should be. Mostly for the quality you guys say you're pushing. And again, we were picky about the quality. And so we were realizing, yeah, we were just a very low price contractor who was just writing out very simple proposals and dropping them off of people's doorsteps instead of actually meeting them and having a sales process. So um, that's where I think Mark really started kicking ass, as he really wanted to take hold of the sales process, and he really did, and absolutely killed it. Um, and that's when I think we brought our pricing up to, I don't know, is it maybe 1.65, 1.7, I think, for a few years. I mean, it's funny how it just slowly climbs. And then I remember our dad being so angry, like, I can't sell anything at this price. He kept saying that. And Mark's like, watch me, and went in that house and pulled it off over and over and over again. Um, and I think that's really when we started to realize, how important process is from, every part of the company.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. The
and
business planning, knowing your numbers, and then the sales process because you have to have a process in place to get that higher price. What was it like? as far as your dad, because here the two young guys come in, you're raising prices, you're changing things.
Yeah, switching a lot of
And I
things
know
up.
a lot of our listeners work in family businesses, and we can talk even more about just the family dynamic. But what was your dad's initial? He thought you guys were little nuts, right?
Right. He thought we were crazy. Again, he's been extremely supportive through the process, but obviously when he was still working there, he struggled with the changes. It was really hard on him, and again, he would push back quite a bit. Um, but we again, Mark and I, being as a team, we were able to push through that and keep going to the point where again he had to relent. Like he didn't know how to use anything else. He was so old school he couldn't. I mean, he didn't even write his proposals. It was my uncle that would do that stuff. So again, he just didn't know what to do, and it wasn't until we started seeing a little bit, blips of greatness at that time. And again, this is still before COVID, so we were still trying to find our way with roofing and then siding, windows. We started to branch out. It was definitely a struggle. Again, you have that power struggle with the last generation. I think a lot of companies deal with that, even with maybe new people running it, where they don't see outside the box,
Yeah.
and my dad just didn't. But again, today he's constantly just saying, You'll figure it out. You guys got this down like it's, like it's the easiest thing in the world." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I wish you were at the office to see it." But at the same time, no, I don't wish you were at the office to see, see it. But um, it's again, when you brought up the process and stuff, as long as you start to really follow that, make tweaks to it, talk to people like you and the other guys in our amazing group to help us move forward. It's been a huge blessing.
Yeah, because even with the processes, you still had a little bit of the scarcity mindset, right? You stepped into the company when it was in debt, and I can't tell you, me and you did weekly calls on business coaching, and we'd always just look at the financials. What's the balance sheet look like? What's in the payables? What's in the
Yeah,
receivables? And how am I going to make it to next week?
the I try to remember this was it before or during COVID? It was like we needed to install like 130,000 a week or something like it was very specific amounts that we needed done to, or was it a month? I can't remember. It was so bad that again it got to me so much, and I think it was again that was back from when I came in. I came in with enormous debt. I spent a lot of time trying to pay that debt off. My dad was borrowing money from my grandma to pay for payroll at times. We were trying to do a settlement with my mother with the divorce still. Um, it was so many different things. So I think that really ingrained, and the divorce obviously ingrained in me extreme scarcity. Again, even to this day, I'm not going to say it's gone. I would say a lot of people think it is, and they talk to me. I mean, James constantly says that now my rear end's loose enough where I can get the credit cards out of there. Um,
Which was a
Well,
so
process. That was definitely a process.
yeah.
that was a huge process. So I'm sure Mark's happy about that too. But it was during COVID where again I needed to have a intervention by the family because I got so bad that even my brother-in-law basically quit, and I just started to be so aggressive with how I was acting with the money. Um,
But we talk
that
in we talk
again,
in mindset about paradigms, all right, programs and patterns, and you had, repetition, hearing it over and over again, and you'd heard it growing up too. From the time your
yeah,
dad got divorced, he was in scarcity, trying to get out of that. And when it's just repeated like that, you had another paradigm. I've talked about it. You said bills half paid, right? Like you never paid bills in full. That was just the way Crumweedy did it, was to manage cash flow. We just pay a little bit of every bill, and even
yep.
when you got some money, at that point, I remember talking about it. You had the money, but something inside of you said, "Don't pay it." It was that scarcity of, well, if I pay this now, what happens if another bill comes up and I don't have money to pay it, right?
Or what happens if stuff just stops? That was something I guess I always had in my head. Okay, what if we not no more income from that day forward? How long could it last? That was kind of the mentality I had. It was so toxic, and it's taken years to get out of that. Um, and again, I think Mark, my dad, everyone helped pull me out of that. You guys, big time, helped pull me out of that horrible hole. I mean, it was like a grave. It was suffocating.
Mm.
Um, but again, I don't, it's funny, I actually don't look at the bank accounts as much as I used to. It's actually becoming rarer and rarer that I do that. I have better and better people running the books here, better at it than I am. Um, so I don't look at that at all. I'm just trying to make sure that revenue stays up, and I know Mark keeps sales moving, same with his team. So it's really helped. So now Mark and I can work on the company better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything up to that point was really holding you back. And I remember, when you brought someone else in to do your numbers, all of a sudden you weren't able to look at. I remember for a while too, you were like always double checking and triple checking things and getting in it. And when you kind of let go and said, okay, I've hired someone that can do this actually better than me. I need to trust them to do so I can focus on other things. I feel like that was a huge switch in your company. I feel like that's when a lot of things started to like the light bulb started to switch on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and even now, like again, I know we've had in our last few months some issues with our numbers, but again, I'm doing my best not to do it myself and dig in there because I know I probably could fix it if I dug in there, but I'm just trying to get the right people, like Tony Trippi out there helping me work on it, and then when I get the balance sheet fixed, then I'll let Brian Gottlieb beat it up for me a little bit, but um, it's definitely awesome to not have to stare at that stuff
Yeah.
and focus on growth instead and not worry about okay this is going to cost this much money because that's how I would act like even when we joined CCN a long time ago. I can't remember, was it 60 grand for their
It was, I
was it
think, almost 80 grand for the diamond
diamond,
membership for a 3 year
yeah,
membership.
diamond, and I
Yeah.
remember just losing my mind doing that, but it helped, it did its thing, and even joining Solerdis and stuff, those large dollars coming out, and now that's like coming, sometimes going in and out daily, so it's like, well, it's a whole different mindset again. Like
Yeah.
you said, the thermostat changes quite a bit when at one time payroll when I first started at the highest amount of payroll was 8,000 a week, and now it's almost 200,000. It
Yeah.
was maybe more. I think it was more than that even last week. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Your
incredible how
payroll a
that,
week is more than you used to sell in a month almost.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And what we sell in a month is more than we used to do in a year.
Yeah. It's just crazy to see
It's
that.
yeah, it's crazy how everything just changes and sometimes so rapidly. And that's why I always tell these other companies who may be struggling to find that niche, that keep working at it and give it time, because you'll find that one thing that separates you and you're going to explode and do
Well,
so well.
let's talk about it too, because we talked about you guys are hard workers. You're determined. You're in a 70-plus-year-old company. For 60-plus years of that, it was a roofing company mostly, a little bit of siding, a little bit of windows. You got the business planning process, which helped you with the numbers. You did it originally the CCN sales process, but that wasn't working to get you the revenue you needed. So how many, you guys have been through like 4 sales processes as you've tweaked it, haven't you, over the years?
Oh yeah, we got the really crappy, just write on a piece of paper, hand it in. I think then we started the 4P, and then we moved over to, I think, John Inglis's system, but that was basically a Grosso.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I think it was just Grosso after that. I think we've stuck with that pretty
Okay.
much. I'm
But,
pretty sure that's what we've stuck with.
but even with that and good process, good mindset now, you still weren't breaking through to where you want to do. So let's talk about, because you guys made a really, I think, brave decision to go all in on cabinet refacing. Talk about that, because that was right after COVID, wasn't it? That you guys first started diving
It
into that.
was it was just before COVID. Mark saw the manufacturer at one of the summits, and I don't remember which one, and he brought it up to me. And again, this goes back to the scarcity thing too. Is every winter we basically would go on unemployment. It was horrible,
Yeah.
and my dad, dad made it sound like it was almost normal.
Well, in Chicago,
Um,
it was normal though, because it's cold. You roof
yeah,
spring, summer, fall, and
yeah,
winter. You kind of shut down a little bit, and you guys were looking for a product
absolutely.
that you could do year round.
Yeah, yeah. So Mark brought it up, and it was that looks cool. Let's sit on it. And then when COVID happened, Mark was working really hard trying to get the virtual sales working, and it wasn't. And no one's gonna let you in the house when you're working on outside stuff, and we just were not. It wasn't working. So we he came to me again. Hey, let's look at this cabinets um, thing again. And I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot. And we started looking at it. And luckily, we had Ross, our brother-in-law, was like a union carpenter before he joined us. And he's like, oh, this isn't hard. I think we can figure this out. And I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't hard, but
Yeah, it was a challenge
it,
for
it,
sure.
it was hard, and we were trying to make it hard easy, and we did. So it was still in 20 end of 2020 into 2021. I was the first kitchen we did. It took over 2 weeks to do it, maybe three even. It was rough. I mean, my wife wanted to kill me because we still had our stove in the living room, and but we spent a lot of time talking and redoing stuff we kept screwing up, and we had already sold maybe 5 or 6 jobs by then. So we're like, we need to get this one right to get the other customers right. And then then the process started moving, and it was shocking how actually we can get into people's homes again. COVID didn't stop us anymore. If they
Yeah.
wanted their kitchen done, they had to let us in their house, and it worked. It really did start to work. So um, we got in there, and again, sales were slow. I mean, Cromwell was propping it up. Um,
That's good.
Mark kept pushing forward. He came up with Redo Cabinets, the name, and I think it was a little bit off of like the Reborn Cabinets name. He kind of looked at it like, hey, I could do something a little bit better with this, um, and we came up with a nice logo and stuff. And it's still by Cromedy Home Pros because that's still the main entity. But it it really did take off. It's still, again, until we started marketing properly, which is something we can certainly talk about. That's when things really happened. That was what, 2 years ago is when we took the biggest leap and threw a ton into TV. And that's when things literally exploded. And now if anyone thinks about cabinets in our area, we're the first name that would pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So that's where I think everyone needs to look at.
well, that's huge. And I wanted to definitely hit on that, on how you changed your marketing strategy and everything like that, because as far as all of our clients, the Chicago area was hit the hardest during COVID. Like by far, like every company I feel like was really, really struggling, and you guys included. But you guys were a lot. Like, this is what I love about you and Mark, especially, is you're like, no. Like, that's not an excuse. Like, we're gonna pivot. We're gonna figure out something else that will work. We're not just gonna like accept the cards that are dealt to us. We're gonna get a new deck. And it's been amazing to see you guys, especially the last 5 years, really completely change. And then again, like you said, 2 years ago, I mean, the last 2 years, not just in the business, but who you and Mark have become personally. You guys look different, you talk different, and like you show up differently. And so, yeah, if you'll take us back to how that started and how that changed. I mean, I remember both of you were like, we don't want to be anywhere like the face of the company, especially like Mark was like, no, like, I don't think I really want to do that. And now it's like, everyone knows you guys now. So it's awesome.
Yeah, no, Mark does like being that face of the company. He's very good at it.
He's very good
And I
now.
like being the face of radio. That's fun for me. I'm more of that one. But no, it was still, again, the struggle from 21 to, I'll say, even 23 is, I mean, you dealt with, with that merger that we were into, and that
Yeah.
was rough. And again, there's still a lot of people at that company I really like, but I wasn't happy with the structure that they had as a company. And that's, I think, what Mark and I really realized too, is like, as we get bigger, we will become more corporate, but we want to try to keep that family business part alive and really understand our employees. And that's what I think where EOS came in too.
Yeah.
Is we want to give everybody the EOS life.
Oh, I love that.
But that was tough. That still, that merger that we did, we tried solar for a little while, which
That's
was
right.
another interesting venture, and I still thank James every day for that one. It was still worth doing it to me, and we realized that we got so big with cabinets, we don't need anything else. We don't want anything else. We want to focus.
Well, and I think, and for listeners, I want you to realize this, because if you're doing something over and over and again, and you're not getting the result you want, it might be time to look at something different. And Greg, you and Mark both, you were open. You looked at solar with the cabinets. You actually looked on taking a partner for a little bit, and then that didn't work.
Yeah.
But you guys were constantly pivoting. I want to bring it up for listeners. I know you know it, but there's the book U Squared by Price Pritchett. In the opening story, the author's sitting in a chair watching a life or death struggle, and it's a fly trying to get out a window. And the fly, the only way it knows to get out is to try to go through this window, and it's going to die on the window. When it crosses the room, there's a door open, 10 seconds of flight, the fly is free. And I feel like so many times, Crumweedy had done roofing for 60 plus years. You guys had added business planning. You'd added sales process. You were like the fly. It wasn't working. And listeners, if you feel like you're a fly right now and you've been doing something a certain way over and over and it's not getting you the results, look at Greg Olsen here and his brother Mark and what they've been able to do, because they shifted a company that for over 60 years didn't break 5 million in revenue, no matter how hard they tried. And the fly in that story is trying harder. That's all it knows. You guys tried solar, learned some lessons. You tried a partnership, learned some lessons. And then once you finally saw the traction in the cabinets, you went all in. And that's my favorite part of this story is, and if you're okay talking about it, because wasn't it like January that you did the first TV campaign? And I can't remember the exact amount, but you guys spent more money on TV in 1 month than you had on marketing as a whole ever.
It was huge. It was January 2nd, I believe, that the TV started of 2024. And the month prior, I'll do the 2 months prior. I think we did roughly $500,000 in sales in November before day after the month after December. January we did, I think, almost 1.8 million that January. I still remember I was in Jamaica with James.
Yeah.
And he kept wanting to look at the phone, like, what is going on? Like, it's just like
the sales were just coming in.
Sale. And I'm like super happy in my head. I'm like, how the hell are we going to install this? Like, we were not prepared for that. And so, yeah, Mark was right on that one. It was definitely going to kick some butt. And it really did.
Yeah.
It exploded.
And again, listeners, 60 plus years of it not taking off like a rocket ship, working hard, doing everything, and then combination. And I love this because every time anybody sees a success story, they think it happened overnight, right?
Yeah.
This didn't happen overnight. You guys, for almost a decade, and before that, 6 decades of family working hard, and then you spend some money on this TV, you're doing a different product, and it takes off, and it hasn't stopped. Like since January 2024, it's just been a consistent growing sales number every single month, right?
Yeah, no, it's been continuously growing. That's why production's getting like a full overhaul right now, trying to make sure we can
keep up.
Yeah, it's changing the entire accountability chart to get this fixed. But it's getting there. We're really getting to the point where we can. I keep telling Mark we're gonna get to the point where we can beat them up again and tell sales, come on, beef it up, let's go.
Yeah, because lately it's been production's like stop selling basically, right? Because it's coming in faster than they can produce it.
Yeah, well, we've been hesitating to ever say that.
Yeah,
it's one of those where I know you could kind of control sales in a way, and I'm like, no, I don't want to yet. I think we can keep going. We can go up. We'll figure out how to catch up on the back end, and we've hung in there pretty good so far. I think we could keep juicing that up. I want to be able to get to at least 3 million a month in revenue, hopefully by the end of the year. That's at least my goal. And I think Ross is lockstep with that too.
Yeah, that's just amazing, especially going back to the start of your story, starting at a company that was doing 1.6 in a year, and now you're looking to be able to do 3 million in revenue in a month.
Yeah, definitely not in a month.
No, it's definitely a dream come true, and again, I attribute to all of our core leadership group, and then all the people in Solaritas helping us along the way, and even again, our dad is still there, always, and not at the office, but he's always, every time I call him, he's always saying, you guys are kicking ass, you're doing a great job. I couldn't have asked for any more from you guys. It's incredible. Yeah. So I know he can see it too, that how happy he is, and that obviously makes me super happy too.
Well, and I remember when we first started working together, back in like 2015-ish, your dad called me and he was concerned. He believed in you guys, but he saw the changes. Me and him had a really good conversation about, the trust the process. I've seen other companies, go through what you guys are going through. And I think it was a couple of years ago, it was might have even before you started really taking off. That one of my favorite phone calls, it was around Christmas time. I got a call from your dad, and just one of my favorite phone calls of all time. Just how proud he is to see what you and Mark have done in the company and how much you guys have grown. And yeah, it's really cool to see a family business and two brothers come in and really do what you guys have been able to do.
Well, and I love too that it's not just you and Mark. Like, no matter how big you guys are getting, you guys, it's a true family business. You have multiple family members working for you and in different leadership positions, which is rare. I find it's pretty rare, and so you've never let go, and you never will let go of that. I want to take care of people, and my family is very important to me. And no matter what happens, like, these guys, like, family's family, and we're gonna take care of them.
Yeah. Because right now you have two brothers and a brother-in-law in the business, right?
Yes, I have two additional brothers. Yeah, my younger brothers, Jack and John. Jack is getting into, he was our last Chromedy employee, so he's finally getting into sales
Yep.
on the redo side. And my brother John is hopefully going to be running the Wisconsin location eventually as a production manager. So he right now is a measure tech. And then my brother-in-law, Ross, obviously who we talked about, is the production director. So yeah, we are, again, a close-knit group of guys. And then even, again, our leadership team we're just super close with too. I mean, they've been there through some rough times too. And they have that grit and drive to want to really succeed and make this company as big, as strong as we can get it.
I love it. And for you, Greg, I mean, one of your paradigms or mindset limits was scarcity, and you've done a lot of work on that on your own with Inner Blueprint, being part of the groups that we host. Oh my gosh. I just forgot what I was going to ask you.
Scarcity is, I mean, again, I'm hoping that will be permanently erased at some point, because I know it comes back, and again, Mark is real good at putting me in that stage sometimes, because he's always good at pushing. And I've always, again, that's what I love about the guy, because he keeps looking at the plans of my house going, can it be bigger than this? Can't you do something more than that? Like, he's always that driver. And he's either pushing me in or pushing me out of that paradigm, but I think he's helping get past that with me.
Yeah.
And my control paradigm. I know those two have always been handcuffing to me. Like, again, they really can hold me down. But I'm still working on it. Like, again, I'm supposed to buy that lifting equipment, and I'm looking at this like $2,500 for this goddamn machine. Like, I'm having a hard time justifying it in my head. Like, okay, Greg, are you gonna use this thing, or are you gonna, are you gonna get on this? And so that's why I'm still struggling to just go, buy. I still,
Yeah.
I need to get past some of those things still, but
Maybe you need to call DJ.
I do. DJ, Jason. I know both of them would probably smack me straight on that one, and at least Jason, not with the weightlifting equipment, maybe, but with telling me to spend some money.
Yeah, no, he definitely. Well, and again, and we talk about in mindset, you've changed and shifted the paradigms, but your mind still remembers, right? And your mind's number one job is keep you efficient and safe. So will it ever totally go away? Probably not, because you're always going to be looking for, in case there's a challenge, I got to make sure I can pay my bills. In case something goes crazy, I've got to have my finger on it so I can try and control it, even though you don't really control anything. So it's really cool. One other paradigm I just wanted to bring up, because I think it's one of your strongest qualities, but it can also, like all our strongest qualities, be so strong it becomes a fault. But let's talk about just how you take care of people, Greg. I want to kind of give you some props, because I know as a son, when you came in, you didn't want to be in this business. You wanted to help your dad, and as a brother, you're Mark's gone through some challenges in the last couple of years that I've seen you step up. Like, I think all of us would hope a brother would step up. So, talk a little bit just about what that's like for you and how you've had to shift that a little bit, because you have to take care of you too.
Yeah, that one's I guess a tough one for me. I don't know. It's always been since I guess I was little. I'm the oldest of 7, so I guess at some point I ended up raising siblings, because again, there's such a big. I'm 13 years older than my youngest brother John. So probably during my my dad and my mom's divorce, Amber and I was doing a lot to take care of the younger kids, taking them back and forth, and helping be that handoff from my parents when they weren't talking. So I don't know if it's maybe started there. I mean, Mark and I were basically in the same bedroom all the way, almost all the way through high school. So we were obviously really close. And we were wrestling partners and stuff like that. So we were always beating the piss out of each other since we were pretty little. So, I don't know. I maybe because with the divorces, people seem to be overly selfish, and I'm always trying to be completely the opposite. So maybe that's where that paradigm comes from. But I hate to see other people around me being hurt in any way. So it may not even be siblings. It could be people that I'm just close to that I can't help but to do what I can to relieve them of some of that or take some of it on.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's definitely caused issues with probably my own health at times. I would probably agree.
Yeah, because that's one of those
And I
you
can
and
take a
I've
lot in.
you and I've worked on a lot is you taking better care of yourself because when someone else needs to be taken care of, you put them first all the time.
Yeah, I guess it's always hard to hear that. Because I feel like I'm just doing what's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
I guess I've never thought of it as not that.
But that's who you are. That's what's such a cool thing about it too, is that's who you are. If someone needs to help and someone you love and care about needs help, you're going to do whatever you can to help them.
Yeah. And that does go back to the oldest sibling. And I mean, that's a paradigm. Being the oldest sibling is a paradigm. And, the weight of things falls on you when the parents aren't showing up the way that they need to. And so when you let that carry on into other relationships in your life, it can be detrimental if you let it go too far. But that's where I've seen a huge switch in you, especially the last 2 years, where you've had to actually show up more, but you are still showing up for yourself, for your family, for, what really is important to you too. You don't get too caught up in those other things. And it's a double-edged sword, definitely, right? So you have to know which side to kind of lean on at what time. But I think that is so great about you, and that is what Sean said is your biggest strength, and it makes you such a great business owner. It can also be your greatest liability, but I think you've really come into yourself to be able to balance that and know when enough is enough, and when you have to kind of step back and let other people fight their own battles, or let other people have their own experiences without you coming to be Superman sometimes.
Yeah, no, and again, I have had struggles with Amber with this issue, and I know Mark is doing his best to sometimes push me off. That he can. I got this.
Yeah.
He does his best with that because I think he knows it too. And again, ironically, Superman was my favorite superhero since I was real little. I mean, my dad had a keychain that my mom gave him, I think in the late 70s, right before they got married, and I still have the Superman keychain. It was always something that I know he would do if he was a real real thing. He would go in and save whoever he can without caring about what could happen to him.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's a compulsion. I can't. Again, I want Mark to live like I do. I want my siblings to live, happy lives like I believe I do. Again, I couldn't have a better life.
No.
And so I want everyone to feel that way. And so when someone's hurt, it gets. I almost can. I don't know what they call it, where I could almost feel it.
Yeah, you're an empath. You really feel what the other person's going through, and you want to help them with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like that even with my friends too. If anyone in our group or something has that feeling, if I need to go to the end of the earth to help them with it, I absolutely would. And again, I have to work on the health personally. It's gonna happen. I really want to get some strides this year. It's so hard with all these darn trips I keep taking with you guys too. It's like,
I know,
man,
I love it. Yeah.
I do have to find more time to work on myself, and that is something that's gonna. It's in the worthy goal. I'm gonna keep pushing it.
Well, what I love most about you though, Greg, and I bring that up, it's a little uncomfortable for you because it is your superpower, but you're really humble about it. You're like, that's just who I am.
Yes.
But I think for listeners, we talk a lot on Inner Blueprint about paradigms, and I've really found in our industry, the three that you've got a lot of awareness and worked on are very common. A lot of contractors come from scarcity. A lot of contractors, because they were in struggle, had to control things or try to control things, and they got that helping people out, or that Superman. I mean, I literally, those are the three when I do keynote speaks. I talk about, hey, everyone in this crowd has a little bit of this, and I think for you listener, the takeaway is you're listening to Greg Olsen, who's got these three paradigms. He's got awareness. He's done work on them. He's still working on them. But for you, hopefully maybe this is resonating. There's something in your life that you're trying to control, or you're trying to be Superman, or you're stuck in scarcity and not making that decision to invest in your business or in yourself. And, Greg and his brother Mark, who hopefully we'll have on an episode sometime, you guys are like living testaments to the power of good business process. We'll give lots of credit to good process, but really good mindset and the work you guys have done. And then determination and hard work, right? You guys like are an epitome of everything that is good about success stories, honestly, man.
Yeah. And honestly, hitting on that like control paradigm, that's what keeps a lot of contractors and business owners stuck, is because they think I can't go and ask for other people's help, or that Superman. Both of those paradigms play into that, and the scarcity of like, I can't ask for help, and I can't like involve myself with other people because I don't want them to have to like get involved with my stuff. Everybody else has enough going on. But since you guys have joined Solaritas, you guys were the original group,
The OG, yeah.
the OG, and it was to see the complete growth in you year after year after year is so amazing, just to witness. Like, I feel so blessed every time. Whenever I'm having a hard day, I just think, oh no, like look at how this works for Greg, for Mark, for all the guys in Solaritas, how far you've come. And I think that is huge. And now, you mentioned you're opening another location, which, even 5 years ago wasn't even a dream. And so to see how much you've taken those paradigms and not let them work against you, but let them work for you, kind of let go of some self-limiting beliefs that were anchored in them, and really said, okay, like I can still have a control paradigm, but I'm going to use it in a healthy way. I can still have a Superman paradigm, but I'm going to use it in this healthy way. And I'm going to have the scarcity mindset at some level
to keep me safe,
but also to realize, like, is this actually a real thing, or is this my scarcity paradigm? And I'm going to let it work for me and use it as rocket fuel to, completely transform your business into something that is, unrecognizable, and people will see you now and go, oh, they just showed up overnight. Like, look at them, they're killing it. And you're like, that wasn't the case.
No. And again, those paradigms made me extremely risk averse, and that's what kept us from growing too. So I feel like I was a little bit of an anchor on the company as much as my father could have been. And again, that's where Mark was really good. He was the opposite almost. He's like, no, I want to take as much risk as possible. And he's like, oh, you got the numbers. You'll be fine. Let's get this done.
Well, it's funny. I'm sure you remember this, Greg. When we first started working together, we had you guys take the disc profile, and you've changed your profile, by the way. But originally, you were a high SC, so very slow to make decisions, a little bit slow to trust. And Mark, and I don't know if you remember, because you would complain about Mark, and I said, well, he's just a gas pedal, and every vehicle needs a gas pedal. And he'd complain about you, and I'd say, hey, if you were just a gas pedal, you'd be in a ditch, man. You need a steering wheel and a brake, and Greg gives you that. And that's the beautiful thing about you guys as partners is. And you've got more gas pedal in you now, though.
Definitely.
We've seen your sneaky D come out. And you're definitely pushing more than you used to, which I love.
I want to go to the moon now.
Yes.
That's why I'm like, I make sure we have a lot of other people who can control that steering wheel better, because I think Mark and I are being more and more aligned every day with what we want to do, and it's going to keep going. I want to take it further than what Brian could have done with Tundraland, and even go after Charlie Gindel at Renewal by Anderson. We want to see how big and how successful we can do it, but keep it.
Yes.
And we want to see what we could do to keep this thing going, possibly onto the next generation. Hopefully one or all of my kids will want to get involved, or Mark's. And
I hope it's your daughter that really just gets involved. she's the best.
She's got the attitude.
She sure does.
She does. Well, that's what I love too, you guys and listeners. A lot of people are talking about private equity and everyone wants to sell their business. You guys don't, right? You want to just get this thing where it's running, you're owning it, you're visionaries, and just keep it rolling, right?
I do. I really feel like, again, the more we've talked to the Bryans and the Charlies, and it almost seems like they don't know what to do after they're done, and I can almost see a little bit of regret of what they did. Um, and so that's when we met with Brian, I kind of got that vibe from him, and that, his one company that he worked out with his leadership team is the one that's flourishing.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the way it should probably go. Is then we can be the navigator of the company instead, and help
Yeah.
mentor the future people who are running it
Yeah.
instead.
Well, and again, the
I think
paradigm,
that's where we're getting better.
Brian Gottlieb and Charlie Gandell, they help people all day, every day. And you're right. If you sold your business, you would just be out helping people. And, for you, for right now anyway, the plan is you're going to keep helping people by owning your business, which I love.
Yeah.
Greg, any advice to listeners, someone who's struggling right now? You've been through some really challenging times.
Yeah.
You've persevered. What advice would you give people listening to this to try and take their business and their life to the next level?
Well, don't hold it in. Obviously get it out constantly and talk to people. Reach out to people that could help you. There's so many of them out there. Instead of holding those things in and bottling it up, because we all are open to helping anybody, but do it in a way, again, that what is the word? Be vulnerable with it.
Yes. Be vulnerable and
well,
ask for help. I love that advice.
Yeah, the thing that Mark and I hate the most is people when they put up those walls and they keep saying how great they're doing constantly, but there's always issues in the background, because again, as we keep getting bigger, we always have, I would say, bigger problems and that we got to deal with. We're getting better at dealing with that and navigating the problem, but some of these other companies can drive us crazy when they put those walls up.
Yep.
When they're trying to hide something instead of just being open and honest.
Yeah.
With what they're dealing with, and working with a mindset or business coach, to me, is pretty important. Getting that help. Again, in our growth was being able to handle risk and take that risk. And you saw through those years our mindset get kind of shaken and shattered at times with the hard decisions we had to make.
Yeah.
And there are some people out there who are so good, they can make those decisions without having problems at all. I know a few people in the group that don't have that kind of a block that Mark and I do.
But that is rare. The more common is to get in your own way. How important, a little plug, I guess, for Inner Blueprint and me and Kaylin, but how important has mindset been in your journey and working with us?
The mind can either be your prison or it can free you.
Yeah.
And I would say for many years, ours was kind of a prison. You get locked in it, and you need to get it out and start to make those changes. And what you think is what you do. What you think is what happens.
Yep.
If you decide you want to be pissed off that day, you're going to be pissed off that day. You want to go in there and go, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to, make this place a better place to live for everybody. That's what's going to come out.
Yep.
And that's what I believe now, as I try to always find the positive in something. I can't remember who's that guy you were saying that, someone could run into his car. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. W. Clement Stone, the author of The Positive Mental Attitude. Yeah. It just is, right? It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. And
I get to decide.
We get to decide. And that is powerful for you, Greg.
That's a huge thing that we've been working on. I think we're much better at. Even if I have an issue now and I go into Mark's office and kind of complain about it, all right, let's get it figured out. We'll be fine. Because that's just how it works today. Back then, it was like a nuclear bomb going off in the office. Something bad happened. But today, it's like the E plus R equals O. We can't control you could try to control the events before they happen, but if the event happens, it's like, well, you can't control it now. All right, you got a bad review. Oh, one of your guys got in a car accident. It's like, okay, well, it happened. How are we going to act? How are we going to fix this?
Yeah.
Instead.
That's a great mindset right there.
So that really changed a lot for us, is having that kind of an attitude and a mindset. And so I couldn't be more grateful to that. And even having the brothership of our Solerdus group, with all the guys, from DJ, Brett, David, Jason, Sean, all of the guys in that group have been huge. Yeah. And again, I can't wait to see them all soon and enjoy time with all of you guys and even the other groups who are coming. because we all have that kind of attitude now. And so it's great to be with people with that attitude because it makes enjoying the ride even better.
Yes, yes. Well, and listeners, this is never meant to be a plug for our program, but it is to bring awareness to it. But if you're listening to Greg and you want to ask for help and you need good people in your life, reach out to us. That's what Inner Blueprint, the podcast, is about. That's what our program. We create mastermind groups. We create communities to give contractors in the home improvement industry support like you so desperately need. I mean, for Greg, before he met me, and it was back at a CCN event in 2014, but his dad's business was like an island, and they were doing the best they could with what they knew. And the challenge was, you don't learn anything new unless you get around good, successful people. And in our groups, we have some of the best in the industry, best processes, best mindset. And
how awesome that the Olsen brothers are part of that group now. Like, you guys used to be the ones looking up to people, and now people are just looking up to you. And that's my goal for everyone in the group, is to go from
student to teacher.
Student to teacher, really. Honestly, it is. So
yeah,
I joke that when we joined CCN, we're trying to learn from other people's mistakes. I'm like, God damn it, we still made a lot of the same mistakes. And so now it's now I'm trying to get people to not make them or lessen the blow of the mistakes that they're going to make. Because I know people are going to make them regardless of what you tell them. Or and everyone's industry is different, so then you'll tweak it and still have a problem. But even we are all open to helping, and you have people like Megan Beatty out there who can help with marketing.
Yes.
Like, you have a lot of amazing people in the industry that can help. That when you think about, when you just go through the phone book, which I know doesn't really exist anymore, but you can just grab random companies that have no clue that someone like her exists. Someone like Brian Gottlieb exists, that you guys exist. Like, they just don't see it. CCN, they don't see those things. And so it was really cool when you just kind of bump into it at a conference and realize that could change your life. Because I don't know where we'd be right now if that never happened.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Definitely.
But we couldn't have been more fortunate.
Well, thank you, Greg. Thanks for being a part of Inner Blueprint and SFC, and thank you for being on the podcast, sharing your story.
Yes.
Hopefully that's inspirational to you as listeners. As always, if you like this episode, hit the subscribe button, share it with somebody that needs to hear the message, and as always, enjoy the ride. It's a good one. Welcome to the Inner Blueprint podcast. I'm Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life, and always remind you to enjoy the ride.